So there I was, perusing through Facebook, and a random post comes up in my feed about this boat, which is an old boat that I built, and I never really did a whole follow-up video about it, and I kind of was one of those things I meant to get to and never did. I got a bunch of footage on it, but it was one of the most difficult boats I had ever built, and so clearly a bunch of people, especially the bass raider and pond prowler community of the world, they really appreciated it, but a lot of people think that it was too much, too excessive, overweighted, and unsafe. Some people called it a floating death trap. I mean, they go back and forth in the comments. There's 89 comments, which is pretty cool considering how old the boat is. It's still trending in its own way, shape, or form. But this is my take on how it performed and whether or not everything we did to this boat was worth it. Stay tuned. Okay, so for this boat, I did some crazy mods for the trolling motor up on the front that were honestly a huge waste of time after I found out you could just get one of these and stick them on any pond prowler or bass raider or any plastic boat with a front transom mount. I have the first generation auto boat here on this Pond Prowler 8. That is gnarly wind and waves, but I was able to stick that unit on a 40-pound basic Minn Kota Endura C2 trolling motor, clamp that thing up front, and I had spot lock, GPS, routes, you name it. I was on fish, stuck it in a kayak here also, and I actually kind of hated that kayak before I stuck that Autoboat GPS in it. And now I understand why everybody pays $6 grand for an Old Town Sportsman. But I more or less converted this kayak to be something formidable to a sportsman without investing near as much money. And just to clear this up, this isn't a trolling motor. It is a smart head that goes on top of your basic trolling motor. So any cheap run-of-the-mill transit mount trolling motor on our approved list can be converted to a GPS monster. And when converted right to a basic trolling motor, you have the sleekest, most efficient ergonomic design that fits right on small watercraft, when your other alternative is to spend thousands of dollars more for a really big, bulky trolling motor that won't work any better. And we'll try to pinch you for additional features when we'll just give them to you here for free. Like track following. You can create your own routes and just hit them, send them to the units, press it, and you're on your own route to just go and fish any line you want. You can make it go straight and just focus completely on the task at hand and have fun versus constantly trying to correct your boat because the wind is pushing it all over the place, which is a huge problem for small boats. You know what I'm talking about. Anyways, guys, let's get back to the video. Look, guys, if you're just looking for the short answer, I'll give it to you. Was this thing a really effective fishing machine after I was finished with it? Absolutely. Did it make the boat better? Absolutely. I had no issues with the draft. I didn't decrease in any speed. I lost the capacity for like another person unless that person was really small, but I made this to be a one-man rig anyways. I wasn't thinking, oh, how can I fit 2 people on this little 10-foot boat? I was thinking that because this was a catamaran boat, that if it was rigged right, that it could do what no other little 10-foot boat its size could do. So is it worth it to get one of our kits from the website and build this thing out like this? Well, let me explain a little bit further. I think I built some significant pieces in my little portfolio, but this was the hardest boat I've ever had to build, mainly because I blind full sent it on a whim with no strategy. Pretty much what you saw was my brain compelling me to just do this project and finish it. I'd like to sit here and tell you that I thought this all up in my head and that's just how it was supposed to come out, it was destined. But no, that's just honestly how it came out after 90 million fails and then reworks. I fail my way to success, ladies and gentlemen. That is the way to win. It's only a loss if you give up. This strategy is probably not applicable for most things. Some things you want to get right the first time. But, you know, on these projects, you got a little bit of leeway. Experiment a little. Do some trial and error. It's all right. It's your boat. Do with it what you will. I mean, who's going to tell you otherwise? What you should be afraid of is never effing around a little and finding out. Like, I know a few of your guys' brains exploded when you saw me cut those pontoons out. And you all honestly know I couldn't have been the first person to think that this was a potentially good idea. I may have been the first person with the guts and the budget to pull it off. But, well, somebody had to do it for science. If anything, for curiosity. Is infusing an aluminum skeleton inside a flimsy plastic hull going to work at all? Well, we didn't know. I mean, in theory, I thought it would work. More or less, most of the time, my ambition for a project exceeds my talent to really think it through. I don't have the intellect to actually foresee a lot of this. A lot of this is just trying out. They found out in a lot of studies that the most successful people out there aren't the prettiest or most attractive or tallest or strongest or even the most intelligent. It comes down to guts. Essentially, that's what they said. It's so many fancy words, but guts or no guts, this thing was a true pain in the arse to build. Specifically because of how I built it and how extensive and how many things I added on. For instance, this is a Pond Prowler 8. We did a way easier conversion. It took 5 days. And this thing is way more popular than this boat. It's actually 4 times as viral. I just kind of got this thing where I like to do a budget build and then I like to do an all-out crazy build that just a sheer concept. But here's the thing, when you gut all the foam out of a boat, especially one like this that's so reliant on it, you have to make up for it somehow. So I stuck quad bilges in there, 2 manual and 2 auto on each side. So as long as power is running to the boat, it'd really be hard to sink. And then also the lockers start to come into fruition and why we went through all that trouble. Having rod lockers inside this small boat was paramount for me personally. People have fancy decks and storage compartments on there, but none of them really put in real storage. Not like this. So I tried to outfit this thing like it was a real boat. And I had a lot of concepts in my head that I wanted to just come into fruition on some project one day. And these shallow water anchors were a big part of it. I kind of just wanted to make some crazy flip down lever design for a manual actuating anchor. The bigger problem was how do you apply all that heat from the welder on something like that without melting the boat? Because a lot of it just had to be templated in the boat. I had no real way to just finagle something to drop it in. And we sell anchors like these, but they don't mount on plastic boats. You had to make your whole chassis, the whole thing. And then we had to make a way to actuate them. Now this, I do like. This pin system. A lot of the problems that exist with manual shallow water anchors today is that there's just no good actuating lever to secure and deploy them. So I could tell I was kind of at the end of what my brain was able to kind of process here. Like it took me a while to think of this. You know, I was kind of bothered by it. I mean, putting together whole parts in a boat was one thing, but actually making mechanics and stuff that's moving inside and it had to move right with precision or it failed was fairly nerve-wracking. Definitely, you could tell I wasn't used to it. But watching all of it come out and work right was super rewarding. I'd say the biggest thing that I found out was how far you could take DIY routing. We took it the farthest we've ever taken it with any boat here. It went from routing the edges and templating inside lines with a ruler to just full on doing whatever the heck we wanted. If you're efficient at this, you can probably complete the turf in around the same amount of time it takes a professional to calculate all the artwork and measurements inside a CAD machine and make the machine do this. And you'll get it done for about 10 times less than what it would cost a professional to do it, which is pretty substantial. But then there's also the time. So to have a boat, you're either going to have to spend a lot of money or you're going to have to spend a lot of time. If you think you can get away without spending either, then you just don't deserve to have a boat. Now, fully rigged up with all the gear plus me on the boat, I was right at the max load capacity. 2 people could still pick this boat up, but to be fair, it'd have to be 2 really strong people. And so trailering it was the best option. And at the point in time, I was trying to make any small boat that was capable yet small fit inside my RV so I could just, tow it places. And that was another major spur for me when I was thinking about this project. I was like, hey, I could design a whole bass boat and it's short enough and small enough to fit inside my RV, and then I could tow the RV, have the mobile hotel, and then just drop out the boat so I could have a boat and a hotel. I also had this Spirit 1.0 electric outboard from Propulsion. I moved on to the E-Lite, which is half the power but also half the space and weight, but both of them, the beauty of them is just no maintenance. When you're ready to use them, charge them. They can sit in the shelf for 2 years and you don't have to worry about impellers, cold starts, carb issues, old gas, oil leaking everywhere. It's all gone. It's like this boat is just meant to be stored and tucked away in slumber, and then when it's ready to be deployed, you just take it out and you deploy it. I know there's some hater out there in the wind who's probably going to leave a comment saying, those electric outboards are too expensive and I can buy a gas outboard brand new for way cheaper. And yeah, you can, but you'll have to spend all the time maintaining it. So it's all really about what you value. Do you value money or time? For me, I value time. Money is never going anywhere. They make more and more of it every day. You can blow it and then earn it back, but you can't earn back time. It's gone forever. It's finite. It's something I cared a whole lot less about when I was younger, But now as I start to age and you can really start to feel the burden of aging creeping its way around the corner, you'll start to really value what time can offer you. Time also being the chief reason I went through all the trouble to build all those compartments. Because a boat that is fast can turn minutes into seconds and miles into inches. Fishing is a game of inches and miles. You're on them, and if you wait too long or you have a deviation in your tackle that you need to get to immediately but can't because you don't have the storage and you gotta go rummage through your backpack or a bunch of crap just laying in the boat, you missed that window. And these fish are already going a mile away in the other direction. If you're some fishing genius who's super in tune with the water, you know exactly what to take out at every time, so your tackle and your rod selection is minimal always, then I mean, great for you. But for me, I have to figure out a strategy. I have to go out there, test the water, look at the temperature, what's the water clarity like, what time of day is it. You got to analyze all those things and then put together a strategy, and you need to have tackle on hand sometimes to complete that strategy. A lot of times you can throw the same lure at a fish and one color will make them bite and the other one they'll ignore, or they'll attack one size bait bigger or one size smaller. Sometimes your initial strategy fails or the intel you got was bad and you have to completely revamp your strategy. And when that happens, you need to have stuff there, ready at your disposal. A horizontal cabinetry design that lays out all your stuff seamlessly in one place that you know exactly where it is. It allows you to have a multitude of tackle and rods at your disposal, kept correctly so that nothing gets tangled, piled on top of each other, and with no serious disorganization, you can start to really catch way more fish. These rigs don't necessarily make you a better fisherman, but what they do is allow you to be the best one that you can be at the time. A true tiny boat is contested among the entire community, among the entire nation. Everybody has their idea. Sometimes it's a certain boat size, sometimes it's a certain style boat. And I am only one person, so I have never been able to truly just dominate the definition of what it is to be a true tiny boat. For me, it's a hold nothing back build. You went to the end of your skill level and your will to build something that is so precise that it elevates your ability to do things like this substantially. It's not just some nice little gimmick with a bunch of little hatches and add-ons that look nice at the ramp so everybody can stare at you for a little flex. And then when you get in the water, the thing performs like tar. And because of that, always beware of imposters. Now, what happened to this boat over time? Well, just like it's just a stage, something I went through, and I had to kind of move on from it. Because it was such a profound testimony in my time doing this, I did try to keep it for as long as I could. I kept it in storage, but then rats and mice were going in there and pooping all over things and leaving problems, and I'd already had issues with road damage in other boats, and I'm like, we're gonna give this thing away. So I found a nice young man from some family friends. I don't know if you guys remember this boat, but I also gave this boat to another young man who was an upcoming sportsman. And I tell you, when you give it to a little kid, it's something different. Their eyes light up, and also they stop the parents from trying to sell the boat. Whenever I gave a boat away before to an adult, it's immediately sold within a matter of days. They just can't help themselves. But this boat is still in that young man's possession along with the others. Anyways, guys, this is the end of the Pond Prowler story. If you liked it, then smash that like button, leave a comment, let us know you were here. See you guys out in the next one. Tight lines. Peace.